Okay, today we will discuss about that is the protista, that is the decomposer protista, or we do call them as consumer protista. So we have already completed photosynthetic protista, and is the second group of protista that is called as the decomposer protista or fungi protista, and the best example is called as slime molds are called the best examples. So these are decomposer protista, the slime molds present. So they include in the class that is called as Mycomycetes. So these slime molds are included in the class that is called as Mycomycetes of fungi. Got it? And they were also called Mycetozoa by the fellow that is called as the father of fungi, that is called D. Berry. D. Berry called them as Mycetozoa because they also contains animal-like nature, fungal-like nature and animal-like nature. Due to close related to animals, these one type fungi related with animals, so they call them as that is Mycetozoa. And mycologists sometimes include them, some mycologists include them as gymnomycota because they also looks like gymnosperm like nature. So this is the slime mold, and this is the small nucleus are present within it, and this is the plasmodium structure. This is plasmodium like structure. So these slime molds are called as protistian fungi. The slime molds are called as protistian fungi. Let's move into general character as we are going to discuss two types. One is called as acellular slime molds. We'll discuss acellular slime molds, and again we'll discuss about cellular slime molds. This is acellular slime mold because they don't have cell. All the nucleus are present, multinucleated. So the multinuclear condition is called as plasmodium. We'll discuss later. So let's move. So these are the free living organisms. Yes, they are creeping on dead debris, the dead debris of fallen leaves or rotten logs or wood. So they are saprophytic, and they are decomposer because they always as creepers, they creep on dead debris or leaves, dead parts of the fallen leaves or trees. Not it. They have naked protoplast, means the body present here, and the body contains multinucleated. So nucleus is multinucleated present. These are the many nucleus present. The cell membrane present. No cell wall. No cell wall. At present they don't have the cell wall. So these are the nucleus and these are the nucleus. And this condition is called as plasmodium. This condition is called as plasmodium. So they are called as naked protoplast like structure. And they are not covered by any cell wall. As I discussed, they are not covered by any cell wall in the vegetative stage. But in the reproductive stage, it is found. The cell wall is found. It is found in the reproductive stage. It is found in the reproductive stage. Yes, we'll discuss. It is found in the reproductive stage, but it is absent in the vegetative stage. And they also don't have chloroplast or chlorophyll. So they don't have chlorophyll. As they don't have chlorophyll, they are fungal in nature. These are fungi. They don't have chlorophyll. And they are saprobic, mode of nutrition. That means that depends on dead organic matter for the nutrition. And they are phagotropic. They are phagotropic, mode of nutrition. Phagocytes means they are phagocytes. They engulf the food materials directly. So intake of solid food materials means they intake solid materials. They intake solid food. The intake of solid food nature is called as phagocytic in nature. Means they engulf the food materials. Got it? Suppose this is the body present, so they engulf the food materials. And then what happens? Food materials is engulfed and taken into it and they can dissolve. So this type of engulfing the food materials is called as phagotropic type of nutrition or cell eating. Means they intake the solid food materials directly into the body. Under favorable conditions, they form aggregation called plasmodium. Means they form groups to form multinucleated structure. This is called as plasmodium. So the plasmodium may grow and spread to several feet. Yes, the plasmodium can grow and spread to several feet, and normally the plasmodiums are multinucleated in structure. These are the plasmodium, and they move into several feet. They can grow in all direction into several feet like structure. So during unfavorable condition, during favorable condition, they go for plasmodium. But when the condition is unfavorable, these plasmodium, they rest and they gives out fruiting bodies. So this plasmodium gives out fruiting bodies, and these are called as the fruiting bodies. And this is the plasmodium present. The plasmodium growth is restricted in unfavorable conditions, and they gives out fruiting bodies to continue its generations, and these fruiting bodies are sometimes called as sporocarp. This is called as sporocarp, yes. So the fruiting bodies bear spores at the tips, and during the life cycle they also bear non-cellulosic amoeboid-like cells. So in the life cycle, during the life cycle, they bear amoeboid-like cells, irregular like this type of cells are present. This is called amoeboid-like cells present in its life cycles, which they don't have they don't have cell wall, no cell wall. As we have discussed, means they are non-cellulosic, they don't have cell wall. And the spores have cell wall, means the reproductive stage. The reproductive stage has cell wall. The reproductive stage has cell wall, but the vegetative cells don't have cell wall. This is a very important vital character of this particular slime molds. So the vegetative phase resembles that with animals, but the reproductive phase resembles that with plants. Got it? Because vegetative phase don't have cell wall, so they resembles with that of animals. The reproductive phase do have cell wall, so they resembles with plants. Yes. Amoeboid plasmodium stage resembles protozoa, and they also contain amoeboid type of structure. So this amoeboid structure resembles protozoa. So these slime molds resembles plant, resembles animals, and resembles protozoa. And also it is a fungi. It's a very confusing organism. Spore forming nature is due to fungi. Yes. So this contains fungi-like character. This contains plant-like character. This contains protozoa-like character. This contains animal-like character. So the spores producing organism, I'm having this stalk, and on the stalk the spores are produced as conidia and sporangia are produced on the stalk. So like this is fungi nature. Spores are extremely resistant. They are highly resistant against adverse conditions. As in fungi, the spores can survive for many years and can survive in adverse conditions. And these spores are dispersed by air. Yes, normally the spores are dispersed by air currents. Very important questions. Reproduction is both asexual and sexual means in slimes. And we are talking about the general character of slime molds. Then we'll go for cellular type and acellular type. This group is represented by two separate types of organism. One is acellular, another one is called as cellular. Yes, one is called as acellular, means they don't have cellular, means the body is multinucleated. If the body is multinucleated, it is called plasmodium. Acellular. If the body is uninucleated, it is called as cellular. So the both mode of organism is present in this particular group. Let's discuss acellular mode. So in acellular, they move on decaying leaves and lumber, and the slimy masses means they secrete. This is a plasmodium present. They move on any organism, and they secrete a mucilus slimy, and through the slimy they creep. They creep on the organism and they dissolve the organism. They release the digestive enzymes and dissolves the organism and intake the materials, dissolved materials. So somatic body is free living, yes, multinucleated plasmodium nature. This is a multinucleated, and the nucleus is 2N. The nucleus is 2N. It is a diploid set of organism. So acellular slime molds sometimes called as plasmodial slime molds. So acellular slime molds are also called as, that is called as plasmodial slime. So acellular slime molds called as plasmodial slime molds. They are slimy masses present on decaying leaves and lumber. So they creep on them, release the digestive enzymes, then dissolves the organism and intake the materials. And the somatic body is free living, multinucleated, called as plasmodium. The movement occurs by means of pseudopodia. Yes, they contain pseudopodia like amoeboid-like structure. So movement is due to a pseudopodia, the vegetative structure. But in the reproductive structure, we will find the flagella. Under unfilled conditions, they contain the fruiting bodies. So this plasmodium gives rise to fruiting bodies. So they give rise to this type of fruiting bodies present. And this is the plasmodium. Yes. So under unfavorable conditions, the plasmodium reduces and halt its growth. And so they give rise to fruiting bodies. So this fruiting body, sporocarp, which produce the spores, is only possible in unfavorable condition. But in favorable condition, plasmodium undergo division, cell division, and multiply. So the sporocarp contains a stalk, and the sporocarp contains sporangium at its tip, and this sporangium wall is called as peridium. For example, suppose this is the fruiting bodies. Got it? So the stalk is called as This stalk is sporangiospore. Sporangiophore. Got it? So 4 is used for stalk. And this is the called as sporangia. This is called as sporangia. This is called as sporangia. The total is called as sporocarp. The total structure is sporocarp. Within sporangia, we find the spores are present. Within sporangia, we find the spores. But the sporangia structure, the sporangia is externally lined with this covering like structure, and this covering like structure is called as peridium. This is called as peridium. Got it? So peridium are the wall of the sporangia. The sporangia contains a specialized wall that is called as peridium, and these peridiums are present on the wall of sporangia. So the fruiting body is otherwise called as sporocarp, as we have discussed. Yes, here it is the sporocarp, and these are the lines present. The covering is called as peridium, and here we find the lines are present called as capitulum. So let's discuss what is capitulum and what is peridium. So this total covering is called as peridium. On the peridium, we find the lines are present. These lines are called as capitulum. And inside the body, we'll find the spores present, and in the stalks type, a sporocarp is found to be present. Got it? So sporangia has an intricate network of cytoplasmic threads called as capitulum. Yes. So here we'll find sporangia. So the sporangia present, the sporangia contains this thread-like structure on its wall. And this thread-like structure is called as capitulum, and the covering is called as peridium. And the covering is called as peridium. So this is the structure sporocarp. And the spore wall is double layer. The spore wall is always double layer. So in the reproductive stage, we find the spore wall, which is of double layer. Got it? Clear? And in some group, we find the spore wall, the outer wall is spiny and sculptured. So the outer part of the wall is spiny and sculptured. The outer wall is spiny and sculptured. Got it? So when we move to the sporangium, spore wall, spiny and sculptured, but the inner wall is very smooth. So this is the outer wall which is spiny and sculptured. Got it? And inside we find the spores are present. This is the structure. And the chief mode of nutrition is called as saprotropic. Means as they are decomposer, so they are saprotropic mode of nutrition. And they don't have the cell body because the cell body is multinucleated plasmodium. So it is multinucleated structure, so we call them acellular. So on germination of the spores, they give rise to biflagellated swarms or non-motile mixed amoeba. Suppose for example, this is the spore present. Got it? Sporangia present. So when the spore falls down on the ground, when the condition is suitable, so one of the spore, they give rise to gametes, and these gametes form having flagella-like structure. So these gametes are present, and some other group spores differentiate to form amoeboid structure. And these are the gametes. Got it? These are the gametes. So these gametes are called as swan cell. These are called as swan cells. And these are called as mixed amoeba. Got it? So what we find when the spore germinates, they give rise to two types of gametes. One is that is called as giving flagellated gametes, swan cells. Another one is amoeboid gamete, that is called as mixed amoeba. Let's discuss one by one. So biflagellated swarm cells act as gametes. Yes, just now we discovered. So biflagellated swarm cells acts as gametes. And also non-motile mixed amoeba, the as mixed amoeba, this mixome, as we have discussed now. So sexual reproduction isogamous means the union of mixed amoeba, or the union of swan cells, the union of mixed amoeba or the union of swan cells, normally they are of this type. The plasmodium becomes multinucleated. Yes, the plasmodium becomes multinucleated, and this multinucleus plasmodium, the plasmodium become multinucleated. Yes. And the reproduce undergo binary fission. So this plasmodium present, they undergo binary fission to give rise the daughter plasmodium. The best example of acellular type is called as Fusarium. Physaria, and Fuligo. These are the best example of acellular slime mold. So we have completed acellular slime mold or plasmodium slime molds because it is multinucleate, they don't have cell-like structure. Let's discuss about its structure. For example, suppose we are taking this. So this is the young plasmodium. So this is young plasmodium because this is a multinucleated structure present. Got it? So this gives out, they germinate and they stretch, elongates. When the condition is unfavorable, they reduce its structure and they give fruiting bodies. These fruiting bodies, the formation of fruiting bodies called as fructification. And here we find the fruiting bodies are present. And these are the sporocarp fruiting bodies, sporangia. They contains capitulum present, the iridiums are present. And these fruiting bodies gives rise to spores. Because as we know, these are 2N, the plant body is 2N, we know the body is 2N. So they undergo meiosis. So undergo meiosis to produce N. Because the fruiting bodies are all are 2N, inside the fruiting bodies, meiosis takes place. And when the spores germinate, they germinate two types. One is a mixed amoeba type, amoeba-like structure. And one is a biflagellated, so one small flagella, one long flagella, swarm cells. These are called as swarm cells. And both they act as gamete. This is a gamete, either they will form this type or they will form this type, it depends. So most of them forms of this type. And this mixed amoeba, they go for union, and this type of union is called isogamy. So in isogamy, initially the protoplasm takes place, union is called as plasmogamy. Union of protoplasm is called as plasmogamy. Then the nucleus union is called as karyogamy. So when the nucleus unite, they form zygote 2N, and this 2N germinates to give that is called as plasmodium. So they contain diplophase and haplophase present. So this is the acellular mode of nutrition. Life cycle, that is of acellular life cycle. Now let's discuss about cellular slime molds. Means they contains mixed amoeba-like cell-like structure. So they have unicellular cell-like structure. So these slime molds are cellular slime molds, also called as communal slime molds. What is communal? The colonial. These are colonial. They form colonies. They form colonies, pseudofilaments. They form small filaments, pseudofilaments or pseudoplasmodium, because they have the power of formation of colonies. And they don't have wall. Yes, they don't have wall. They are uninucleated and they are called as mixed amoeba. So they are mixed amoeba-like structure. Uninucleated. So this is mixed amoeba. No wall is present. They don't have cell wall. So no wall is present. And complete absence of flagella. They don't have flagella in its life cycle. Very important question. Means in cellular slime molds, no flagella in its life cycle. No flagella is found to be present in its life cycles. Sporangia present and naked means they don't have no cell wall. So here cell wall, they don't have sporangia. We find sporangia just like present. And this is the covering, just covering of sporangia. And here we find the spores are present inside the sporangia. And spores are cellulose. When the spore release, and these spores, the spores are cellulose. It means sporangia is non-cellular, but the spores are cellulose because they have what? Cell wall present. And here it is called as the cell membrane. Got it? And this part is called as the spore. So the spore contains cell wall, but the sporangia don't have the cell wall. Sexually reproduced by anisogamous means one of the mixed amoeba, another of the mixed amoeba. So both are unequal in size. So this type of union is called as anisogamy. And we find the common cellular slime mold is called as dictyostela. It's a very important example, and which is a colonial forms, means they form colonies. So as they form colonies, they looks like pseudofilaments. Actually, they are not pseudoplasmodium, they are colonial form. They contain hundreds of uninucleated haploid flagella. So these cellular are haploid. These cellular are haploid type, but non-cellular are diploid type. So these haploid type of colonial forms are found to be present. So these aggregation forms colonies. So these are the aggregation of cells that they form colonies, fuse, and the colony gives the appearance. Actually, it is not multinucleated, but it looks like it is multinucleated, but it is truly not multinucleated. It is truly not multinucleated, but it looks like multinucleated as they form colonies. So sometimes we call them as pseudoplasmodium because they look like multinucleated, but actually they are not multinucleated. So they look like multinucleated, but they are not multinucleated. So sometimes called as pseudoplasmodium, we call them as pseudoplasmodium. So under adverse conditions, when the food supply is exhausted, at that time they contain cyclic AMP and they release a chemical that is called acrosine. So during deficiency of food, all the uninucleotide, they come and gets aggregated to form colony to survive from adverse condition because the food matrix is less. So this aggregation is due to this particular chemical that is called as accretion, and is due to the presence of this particular cyclic AMP nature chemical reaction. So during adverse condition, when food supply is less, when the food supply is less, then they go for this colonial form, aggregation form. But when the food supply is maximum, then they are separated and they can survive in along. Okay, now this type of movement is called as chemotactic movement during the formation of pseudomodium because the accretion chemicals helps them to aggregate. So these chemicals helps them for aggregation. So this type of movement towards each other is called as chemotactic movement found in cellular slime molds. Very important questions. So pseudoplasmodium exhibits primitive form of multicellularity. Means here just starting of multicellularity starts because already unicellular, so we are discussing unicellular. But multicellular nature starts from this. So we could sometimes call them as communal form, communal slime molds. So primitive multicellularity structure starts with your tissue system will start, that is called as division of labor. So it is the initial stage. So for which we do call them as communal slime molds because we find this colonial type, or that is this cellular slime mold is regarded as the advanced type of protista, or it is the primitive fungi but advanced protista. Got it? Clear? Because they contains communal nature, because from this particular slime, cellular slime molds, tissue system starts evolving. So the evolving of tissue system is only from this particular organism. During unfavorable conditions, they form cyst, and the formation of cyst is called as microcysts. For example, this is mixed amoeba. For example, this is mixed amoeba. Suppose condition is adverse. So when the condition is adverse, So when the condition is adverse, they produce a cyst, and this is the cyst. And this formation of cyst together organism is called as microcyst. Got it? Without cyst is called as mixed amoeba. Yes, called as mixed amoeba. But when the cyst is formed due to unfavorable condition, this together is named as microcyst. Got it clear? Now let's discuss. Microcyst is formed by perination. Yes, why microcysts are formed? The microcysts are formed by perination, means they will withstand adverse conditions, and by dispersals nature. Let's move. So we have discussed that this particular nature of slime mold cellular is the advanced nature. Under dry condition, the pseudoplasm produces stalk spore. When the condition is dry, the pseudoplasmodium present, they gives rise to sporocarp. They again gives rise to sporocarp. Got it? So this pseudoplasmodium, this is called as the colonial form. This is the pseudoplasmodium. So this pseudoplasmodium gives the sporocarp of the fruiting bodies in adverse conditions. The sporocarp may be branched or unbranched. Yes, the sporocarp may be branched or the sporocarp is unbranched. It depends upon the nature of the sporocarp. Each branch bears single sporangium, as we have discussed. Each branch bears single sporangium. So this is the sporangium, this is the sporangium terminally, and this is a monocentric. Yes, once is present. Sporangia don't have wall. No wall is present, no cell wall. But in cellular form, cell wall is found to be present like peridium. But in cellular form, there is no cell wall present in sporangia, but the cell wall contains cell wall. Within sporangium, we find amoeboid cells are present within sporangium, and these spore walls are present around it. On the approach of favorable condition, these spores liberate and germinate into a new organism. Sexual reproduction is also anisogamous, as we have discussed. One of them is bigger one is smaller one, and that union is called as an isogamous type of union, as we have discussed earlier. So during sexual reproduction, number of mixed amoeba form a clump. For examples of this mixed amoeba, this is mixed amoeba. So all of the mixed they form a clump, and all the clump aggregates to form a single bigger organism. Got it? They all aggregate to form a single bigger because they all engulf to each other and form a large one with smaller engulfing mixed. And this plasmogamy and then plasmogamy inside plasmogamy occurs means union of protoplasm. The union of protoplasm inside takes place because all the mixed amoeba are engulfed within a single bigger one, and this bigger one dissolves all the smaller one within it. So all the protoplasm gets union, and this nature is called as plasmogamy. After plasmogamy, karyogamy takes place. Fused protoplasm secreted thick wall around it, and karyogamy takes place. And this thick wall forms microcyst. So this fused protoplasm, they produce a thick wall, and this thick wall is called as microcyst. So the macrocyst undergoes karyogamy. So normally what happens? This from the macrocyst present karyogamy means the union of protoplasm takes place, the union of nucleus takes place. After the union of nucleus takes place, they become diploid zygote. And this diploid zygote undergoes meiosis to produce haploid because the parent body is haploid. So zygote divides to produce meiosis. So this type of division is called as zygotic meiosis. It is called as zygotic meiosis. So this type of division is called as zygotic meiosis, as we came to know. So several mitotic division then occurs after that, and that gives rise to the mixed amoeba, haploid mixed amoeba is formed as the parent type is formed. The parent type is formed. Got it? And they release and rupture, and macrocystic wall gives out. Germination takes place. The best example is called a dictyostelium. Is the best example. Some examples are polyspondylia. These are the two best examples, but the most example, the common example that comes in the exam, that is called as dictyostelium. So slime molds, we can justify the protista forms having a connecting link, yes, between plants, between animals and fungi. It is very important questions. So slime molds forms a connecting link between plants, between animals and between fungi. Got it? And fungi-like feature means they have fruiting body sporocarp. They have fruiting body is called a sporocarp. Plants like means they are spore having cell wall. And animal like nature means plasmodium, they have multinucleated, so they have plasmodium nature. So let's discuss about this particular life cycle. So let's see. So here we find the actual mixed amoeba present, single cell. They divide mitotically repeatably, it is haploid, this is haploid, and they form many amoeboid cells like structure. When condition is unfavorable, they aggregate themselves with the help of accretion chemical, cyclic AMP, and this aggregation is called as communal type or colonial type, or is called as pseudoplasmodium, this aggregation. After that, what happens? They gives out this plasmodium, they form a plasmodium like structure, and this plasmodium gives like the sporangial structure for fruiting bodies, and these fruiting bodies produce the spores, it is called as N, and this N germinates to produce. So this is the life cycle of this particular organism, that is called a dictyostelium. Got it clear? Now let's discuss. We have completed. Now let's go for some practice questions. Slime molds are placed on the Kingdom Protista. Yes. During the vegetative phase, they exhibit as amoeboid mass or without a cell wall. Yes. Both A and R are true. Then we move on to consider the following statement regarding the slime molds. They are saprophytic. Yes. Under favorable condition, they form an Amoeboid Plasmodium. Yes. The spores with a true flagella are false. The spores are highly resistant and scurvy. Yes, true. So the correct option is 1, 2, and 4. These are not the correct option. The third question, the feeding stage of slime molds is known as mycelium, no. Plasmodium, no. Sporocarp, no. The plasmodium, because they engulf the matter. The feeding mode is plasmodium. Feeding stage. Slime molds are generally found on dry rocks, dead and decaying organic matter. Yes, they are mostly found in dead and decaying organic matter. The spores of slime molds are dispersed mainly by air current. We have discussed. They are mainly dispersed by air current. They are mainly dispersed by air currents, not by birds. So these all are wrong. So we have discussed 5 questions only, but we have ample amount of questions in that particular site. You can visit our site there. You'll get more practice question. If you want to go for online live exam, you can give live online exam. or if you want any doubt clearing classes, you can go to this particular site. If you want to download the PDFs, mind maps, questions, worksheets, you can download from this particular map. Or if you want to directly solve your doubt, you can contact us, or you can follow our channel where you'll get updated study materials, updated questions, and updated mind maps and worksheets you'll get from this particular channel. So we have completed photosynthetic protista. We have completed slime molds, that is decomposer protista. So here in this particular class, we have completed that is called as decomposer protista. Okay, hope you all enjoyed. Thank you.